The man across from you orders a medium drip coffee. No modifications, no seasonal flavor, no second shot. He has been ordering this way for 15 years, and he has stopped thinking about it. His name is Raymond. He is 47 years old. His watch is a Casio F91W, $14. You can buy it on Amazon and have it by Thursday. His jacket is navy blue, no visible brand, the kind that communicates nothing to anyone. He drove 31 miles to this meeting in a 2018 Toyota Corolla with 112,000 miles on the odometer and a dent in the rear quarter panel he has not repaired because the car runs fine, and a dent does not change that. Raymond does not look wealthy. He chose not to. His brokerage account holds $2.3 million. His rental properties produce $4,200 a month in net cash flow after all costs. He has not had a car payment in 6 years. He will not have one in the next 6. In 2026, Raymond's most consequential financial decision is not where he invests. It is how he appears. You have been trained to believe that having money and showing money are the same category, not explicitly, not in classrooms, but in every image you absorbed before you were old enough to call it advertising. Every comment section where someone's car generated more attention than their bank statement ever would. Every social event where you upgraded something not because you needed the upgrade, but because the room would notice the alternative. The lesson was consistent and it was applied early. Visible success is real success. The appearance of arriving is the same as arriving. I have been alive 55 years. I have sat at tables with people who had nothing and looked like everything, and tables with people who had everything and looked like nothing. I can tell you, with the certainty that only comes from having been wrong about this myself, that this belief is the most expensive thing a person can carry into 2026. More expensive than any car, more expensive than any apartment, more expensive because it is the belief that makes every other expensive decision feel justified. Let me show you what looking wealthy actually costs, not as a theory, in dollars. The average person earning $85,000 a year and living what reads as a respectable, status-appropriate life in 2026 spends approximately $1,200 a month on what I call performance expenses, not luxuries in the traditional sense, legitimacy purchases, the car payment that communicates your income bracket before you say a word, the apartment in the zip code that reads as successful rather than merely functional, the clothing that establishes your professional tier before you open your mouth, the dinners that prove you belong in the room, the trips documented not because the experience required photographs, but because the evidence required an audience. Each of these, examined in isolation, is defensible, reasonable, fine. Together, they form a system, and systems compound, both kinds. $1,200 a month in performance expenses is $14,400 a year. Over 10 years, redirected into a total market index fund at historical average returns, that number becomes $228,000. Not from earning more, not from a promotion or a side business or a windfall, from stopping the performance, from making one structural decision about what the money is for. That is the cost of being seen. And in 2026, the invoice is higher than it has ever been. Between 2020 and 2026, something broke in the relationship between income and life cost. Median home prices in the American market increased 43%. Car loan interest rates climbed to levels not seen in 2 decades. Credit card delinquency reached a 14-year high in 2024 and did not meaningfully recover. The average monthly payment on a new vehicle crossed $735 in 2025. The average total annual cost of owning that vehicle, including insurance, fuel, maintenance, and depreciation, crossed $12,000. Student loan obligations that were briefly suspended returned with accumulated interest and compressed household margins further. The economic environment for building wealth became harder, specifically and measurably harder, for people earning between $50,000 and $95,000. The window for error narrowed. Meanwhile, The social pressure to perform wealth intensified in the opposite direction. More content, more creators, more aspirational imagery normalized to the point where a kitchen renovation, or a business class upgrade, or a hotel lobby in a city you will never be able to afford to live in became the baseline of visible adequacy. The algorithm rewards the display. It doesn't reward the account statement. More pressure applied more constantly, precisely as the actual math of achieving the life being displayed became harder for most people to access. What this created is a population split, not into the wealthy and the poor, but into the visible and the invisible. The visible are spending money they earn to look like they earn money they do not have. The invisible are driving used Corollas to meetings where they close deals that change their net worth by 6 figures. You do not see the invisible in your feed. That is the definition of invisible. It is also, increasingly, the definition of winning. A man named Curtis grew up watching his father dress sharply, regardless of what the bank account held. Sharp meant dignity to his father. Curtis internalized this so completely, it never felt like a choice. By 32, Curtis was earning $97,000 and looking exactly like it. Good neighborhood. Late model SUV with a payment that came out automatically on the 7th, so he never had to watch it leave. The right jacket, the right shoes. The restaurant where you make a reservation, because walk-ins communicate something about your planning, and your planning communicates something about your position. Curtis had $12,000 in savings, $34,000 in consumer debt across 3 accounts, a 401k he was contributing to at 2%, leaving 2% in employer match on the table every month. No brokerage account. No Roth IRA. He looked precisely like what he was trying to look like. That look was consuming the raw material of everything he had not yet built. Curtis is not the story of a bad person. Curtis works hard. Curtis shows up. But Curtis built a spending architecture designed to communicate prosperity, not to produce it. In 2026, that architecture is the most common and most expensive trap available to someone with a real income and real potential. Here is what Raymond's $14 watch purchases that no status object ever could. The first thing is optionality. Raymond's total monthly cost of living, including mortgage, insurance, food, and transportation, is $3,100. His passive income is $4,200. His life is funded without requiring his labor to sustain it. Every dollar his salary generates is discretionary capital available to be deployed, invested, or used to acquire the next asset that produces the next stream of income. His obligations do not require his presence to survive. That is a different kind of life. Not because Raymond earns more, but because Raymond built a different structure around what he earns. The car payment is not a small thing. It is a structural decision. It determines what every other dollar is allowed to do. The second thing is negotiating power. When your financial position cannot be read from your appearance, people negotiate differently with you. Raymond has walked into real estate transactions in that Costco jacket and closed below asking price because the seller underestimated him and named a number they would not have named to someone who arrived in a tailored coat. The appearance of having less creates space, that the appearance of having more closes immediately. People price things based on what they believe you can pay. Remove the signal, and they price more honestly. This is not a tactic. It is the natural physics of perceived capacity. And in a market where every negotiation matters, being consistently underestimated is a compounding structural advantage. The third thing is silence. When you do not appear to have money, money is not asked of you, constantly, from every direction. When people in your life cannot see the number, they do not request access to it. The social obligations that visible wealth creates, the cousin who needs a bridge, the friend group whose trip costs $3,800 when split 4 ways, the unspoken pressure to match whatever room you are standing in, these do not reach Raymond. He matches no room. He carries no position to defend. He is simply Raymond ordering a medium drip and driving home in a dented Corolla. That costs nothing. It protects more than most people ever calculate. The fourth thing is time. The structure that Raymond built does not require his continuous maintenance. His money works without his supervision. His life does not require performance. The hours he does not spend managing perception, managing appearances, managing the gap between what he has and what he is projecting, those hours compound too. Not in an account, in clarity, in capacity, in the specific, unrepeatable resource of knowing that what you are building is real and does not depend on an audience to exist. I want to give you one number, then another. Then I want you to sit with what is between them. The median net worth of an American household earning $80,000 per year in 2026 is approximately $31,000. Federal Reserve data. Not per person, per household. For people who have been showing up to real jobs for real years and earning real money, $31,000. The performance economy extracts almost everything. Now run a different structure. Same income, same city, same job, no car payment. A used vehicle purchased outright for $9,000 3 years ago. Apartment in a functional neighborhood rather than the aspirational one, $420 less per month. Clothing from the same 3 reliable stores rather than the stores that signal. Food prepared at home 5 nights a week, not from discipline, but from math. This person redirects $1,400 a month, automatically, before it can be touched or spent or justified. Over 10 years at historical market averages, that is $273,000. Same income, $242,000 difference in outcome. That is the price of being seen. And here is where most people stop engaging with this idea. They hear looking poor and they hear deprivation, joylessness, the elimination of pleasure from life. That is not what I am describing. Raymond is not deprived. Raymond travels. He eats well. He lives in a house he has been paying down for 11 years and will own outright in 4 more. He buys things that genuinely improve his life without hesitation or guilt. What Raymond does not do is spend money to manage other people's perception of his life. That specific category, the performance category, he eliminated so completely that he no longer experiences it as restraint. It does not exist as a consideration. He does not ask, will this make me look like I have arrived? He asks, does this make my life better? Those are different questions. They produce different answers. Over a decade, they produce different people. I spent years building the version of my life that read correctly to the people I believed were watching. I was wrong about 2 things. I was wrong about what it cost me, and I was wrong about who was watching. Nobody was watching the way I imagined. The people I was performing for were performing for someone else entirely. The whole structure was an audience composed entirely of performers, every person managing the perception of a life they were not quite living, for an imagined judgment that was never actually being rendered by anyone with the capacity to confirm what I was looking for. What I was looking for was not admiration. It was legitimacy, the right to take up space, the sense that the story I was telling about myself was real and that someone, somewhere, could see it and confirm it for me. That need is not a character flaw. It is one of the most human things there is. But nothing I purchased ever delivered it. Not once. Not even close. Because it was never in those things. It was never going to be. The legitimacy I was looking for lived in the account I kept deferring, in the decision made at midnight with a calculator and no audience, in the version of myself who chose, quietly and consistently and without requiring anyone to notice, to build something real over something visible. That version did not need a room to look impressive. That version was building the room. In 2026, the most powerful financial position available to you is the one no one suspects you hold. Not because secrecy is virtuous, because the cost of visibility is real, ongoing, and most people are paying it without ever realizing there was an alternative structure available. Raymond finishes his medium drip coffee. He drives his 2018 Corolla back across 31 miles. The watch keeps perfect time. It has for 7 years. The meeting went well. The deal closed at a number that will add $61,000 to his net worth over the next 4 years. Nobody in the room read that from his jacket. Nobody read it from his car. Nobody read it from his watch. That was never an oversight. It was always the plan.